All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Brennan Murata. I've had a lot of people asking me, since the film has come out, they see it and they want to get involved on the issue and they're not sure how. And I get a lot of people who want to start a new group or do something original. And I had a couple thoughts on how you could do that because there's already a lot of groups that are involved on the intactivist issue, the movement against circumcision, that are doing a lot of good things. And I had a thought of if you wanted to figure out what the best way you could contribute is, what you could do. And that thought pertains to genre. I think if you want to create some sort of new activist group or do something new, you need to find a new genre. So genre, obviously that's a term in film, horror films, documentary, fantasy, sci-fi. But genre, I think, also applies to the type of activism that you do. So the genre that I work in is documentary film, obviously, and specifically big issue documentaries. So big issue documentaries have a certain series of images that you see repeated throughout them. You'll see policymakers in suits talking. You'll see academics and experts. You'll see images of places where policy is made, things like the Capitol building and the White House. You'll see protesters and little people being screwed over by big organizations. And these are all images that you would see in any big issue documentary. You would see that in a documentary on an environmental issue. You would see that in a documentary on any sort of thing about corruption or policy or politics. But we haven't seen that applied to the issue of circumcision. So if I was to remove all of the references to circumcision, it would look like a lot of these big issue documentaries. But having it applied in that way on this issue is new. No one has combined those images, the images of a big issue documentary, with this issue. So by taking the genre of big issue documentaries and the genre of circumcision and intactivism and combining them into something together, you get a new genre. And if you want to create new genre, you can combine things. So there's a lot of films that do that. Some more successfully than others, right? But if you look at all the Marvel films, for example, they often take the genre of superhero and combine it with something else. So Winter Soldier is a combination of the spy genre and the superhero genre. And Thor combines fantasy and sci-fi with the superhero genre. And you look throughout their work, there's a similar thing of combining genres, right? Similarly, if you look at activist groups, a lot of activist groups combine genres. So the issue of circumcision with traditional street activism or with traditional lobbying or trying to change policy in some way. Bloodstained Men, which is one of the most well-known groups, Brother K has said that he was inspired by street preachers and early activist movements. So he's combining that genre with the issue of circumcision, and that makes something new. That's a new niche. So if you're interested in the issue of circumcision and you want to start something new in some way, first of all, I don't think you need to. I think there's a lot of organizations you could join, and they're always looking for help, and they're always looking for volunteers, and they're always looking for donations or contributions. So you don't have to. But if you wanted to, I think it would be redundant to create another version of something someone had already done instead of finding a new genre. And because there's so little done around the issue of circumcision, almost anything plus the word circumcision is a new genre. So when I do interviews, I'm in the genre of a guy in a suit talking about an important issue. And every news show has this genre all throughout it. There's lots of people in suits who talk about important issues, but there's not a lot that are specifically focused on the issue of circumcision. So I am working in the genre of expert talking in suit combined with the genre of circumcision and intactivism in this issue. And I think that if you start looking at all the genres available to you, you might find something that no one's done yet. And that could be really interesting. So as an example, no one has done the genre of like comedy YouTuber with this issue. And there's certainly a lot that you could do there. And that's a well-established genre. But that particular niche, the combination of those two, has not been explored yet. One of my favorite business books is a book called Blue Ocean Strategy. And in it, they talk about this idea of blue oceans. So most businesses compete in what are called red oceans of competition. So if I wanted to start a soft drink, for example, There's a lot of soft drinks already, right? And I'll have my little startup, and Pepsi and Coca-Cola will just slaughter me because they own all the distribution. They're way bigger. They have brand recognition. Why would someone buy my little startup when there's all of these other people competing? But if I was to say, take the plant kratom, which is an herbal plant from Southeast Asia, and create a new health drink from it, that would be a blue ocean. It would be an entirely new genre and category that no one had done yet that I would then own. And I wouldn't be competing with Pepsi and Coca-Cola. I would be in my own new genre. And so when people thought about my product and when they thought about what I was creating, they wouldn't compare it to these existing red oceans of competition. Likewise, I think if you want to do activism and create something new there, if you just start another protest organization, or if you just start another nondescript nonprofit, then you are in some way competing against other activist organizations that already do that. And you might be better off, since you're all working on the same issue, going and volunteering for one of those or raising money for them or something like that. Whereas if you find a new genre, then you will own that. One of the examples that Blue Ocean Strategy gives for genre is the creation of Cirque du Soleil. So Cirque du Soleil is the combination of stage and circus to create a new genre. So Cirque du Soleil isn't really just a stage play. I mean, you can't really compare it to Broadway or something like that. And it's not really just a circus. So it's not happening, out in a tent by a fair with like a bunch of, it's a higher production value. It's something new. And so Cirque du Soleil, I can say that and you know what that is, when really it's just the combination of the circus genre and it's a combination of the stage genre. Likewise, like I talked about, my film is a combination of the big issue documentary with the issue of circumcision. And when I go and I do public speaking, I'm combining the issue or the genre, if you will, of, a policy expert in a suit talking about an important issue with this issue. And when you combine the two, you create a new niche that is unexplored and new. So one of the things you might think about if you're looking for something new to do, if you're trying to figure out what the best way you can contribute is to think about what niche hasn't been explored. By the way, another example, David Llewellyn, who I interview in the film, his website is The Circumcision Lawyer. It's either circumcisionlawyer.com or thecircumcisionlawyer.com. But that's two genres, right? Circumcision, lawyer, new genre, a niche that he owns. And so when people want to do a lawsuit around that, he's the guy that they go to. So some examples of issues that haven't been explored. I've had a number of people say that they want to do a stage play around this. I think that's a really good idea. It's something that no one has really created the definitive thing on yet. One of the people in our comments is mentioning that there is a volunteer application for Your Whole Baby, which if you are interested, they're a great group to sign up for. And like I said, there's a lot of groups that are already doing it. And so if you can, if someone is already in your genre or niche, go work for them, go help them out. Because even then, even if you decide you want to do your own thing, you'll at least have seen how someone else does it and have gained the experience from that. Before I made my film, I worked on a lot of people's films. So, like I said, there's a whole host of genres that have not been explored yet. And because circumcision itself is something that isn't explored a lot in the mainstream culture, almost any genre plus that is going to be a new genre. So people have not done a comedy YouTube channel, for example, like I said, that combines the two. There hasn't been a really good theater performance around this yet. And you can also look at other activist organizations and translate their genre. So there are a lot of groups that do protest, but PETA and Greenpeace have very different styles of protest. And they have very different styles of protest than, say, the March for Life rally or the Women's March rally. Even if you take the politics out of them, don't even look at them as the issue that they're talking about, what's the genre they're working in, that style of activism could be moved from one genre to another. So Greenpeace does a lot of big stunts that are very attention-getting, and sometimes, they've done some things that I would consider ethically questionable, but they are very attention-getting. Likewise, PETA does the same thing. I haven't seen an activist group on the issue of circumcision that works the same way. Likewise, someone's suggesting someone would do an interactivist comedy podcast. Again, podcast. Like, I don't think anyone's owned that niche yet. And there is definitely something that could be done there. And you can look at these two in the popularity of the genre. So if you were to do, for example, a comedy YouTube channel, but you have this addition of like it's circumcision focused in some way, then you have the advantage you can collaborate with other people in that genre. So there may be other YouTubers who are doing that genre that you could do collab videos with. Likewise, I did a big issue documentary. Netflix buys big issue documentaries. Film festivals program big issue documentaries. Podcasts will have the directors of those films on to talk about it. So this, because I'm in a very particular genre, I have the ability to collaborate with other genres. So I would suggest, if you are looking for something new that you can do to contribute to this issue, think about what genre you love and consume and are really interested in outside of the issue, and see if you can combine that genre with the issue in some way. What would you be creating if you just were making the genre you loved and then apply that to the other things that you care about? And you may find that you're in an entirely new niche and doing something new. So those are my thoughts on genre. I would be very curious to see if in the comments people find some interesting genres that have not been explored around this issue and try them out, see what you find. And this also, by the way, can be used to understand other people's careers or what they're creating. So when you see an entirely new business, an entirely new thing happening, think about what genres they're combining. So for example, one of the people who I follow on YouTube who's documenting his life is very much working in the genre of reality TV or business show, because he's documenting the building of his business. But looking at it, you think, well, this is a YouTube show. It's just like different than any other YouTube show I've seen. But if you look at earlier business building shows and reality shows about people building businesses, he's just doing that on a new medium. So let me know in the comments what sort of genres you think it might be interesting to explore. I hope this gave you something interesting to think about, and have fun doing your thing. Later.